This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by AuthorU and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, hello everyone again, and welcome to this edition of the AuthorU, your guide to book publishing podcast. And as always, I will share ahas and insights and tips to enhance and support you and your book publishing journey. And I just want to remind all of you, if you're on Twitter, hey, connect with me on @MyBookShepherd. And if on Facebook, join my book publishing group to share your news or ask questions and shout outs. And you can always email me directly at judith@briles.com. Well, I always love to share one of my quotes from my little book, Snappy, Sassy, Salty, Wise Words for Authors and Writers. And just to let you know, a brand new, hugely expanded edition will be available here within just a few weeks. As in, this book had 250 of my quotes. We are now jumping to a big 400 of them. But today's quote, which I think is perfect, that ties in with our theme and our fabulous guest, is this. Stuck? Need a wacky idea to get the creative juices going? Read the tabloid headlines. Weird things seed great ideas. And with that said, let me introduce you to our guest today. She has not been with us before in the 6 years the show's been on, and I'm so thrilled she's with us today, and I hope to have her back again. Robin Samora is a marketing and PR expert. She is a small business owner for the last 20 years, and she's gained buku experience, wisdom, insight, and knowledge to help you market yourself and your brain at just a fraction of what it usually costs. Her focus is to use the same PR and promotional strategies that the big boys use and personalize them to fit your needs and goals. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing during our hour with you today. So, Robin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Delighted to be here.
All right. So one of my very favorite headlines came from the National Enquirer a gazillion years ago. And I clipped it, and I had it posted on a bulletin board in my office for almost 2 decades. And it was something like this. I gave birth in a snake-infested tree. And I love headlines, and I know actually people who are headline writers can make buku dollars, and there's an art to it. But I'm wondering, how in the hell did that woman with that big belly climb up that tree? Why were all those snakes there, and what in the heck happened when she gave birth? Anyway, so it was a pull-in for me, and I think headlines are important. And I actually find myself, when I have a line at the grocery store and one of the tabloids is there, I will routinely pick it up looking at the headlines and for ideas that I might be able to use. Have you ever done that?
Absolutely. And I think that the headline writer is just trying to exactly what you said, get attention, get people to read, pay attention, and see what the story is all about. And that's what's so important when you're writing any kind of a headline for a blog title or for an article or, for publicity, to make sure that you get people's attention. And there are a few different ways that you can do that. You can come up with your own ideas. You can look at, what's trending. Grocery line stores, I do that all the time. We were taught that way back in the day. And also, sometimes you can even put your title or your ideas through a headline analyzer.
Hmm. I'm a huge believer in doing that, by the way. I do that with all my authors that I work with. But I know that, one of your specialties is really writing that kind of comprehensive marketing and publicity plan that authors, I believe, need. And start learning how to do this. So do it with everything you do. It's like I tell authors, you really should think about writing a proposal for your book. And the response, but I'm not going to work with an agent. I'm not planning on selling it to or attempting to sell it to a New York type house. And I said, it doesn't matter. It's a roadmap. It's a roadmap and a guide plan for you. So in the work you've done, Robin, with authors over the years, what are some of the mistakes they make with publicity and marketing in general?
Well, first of all, people don't have enough confidence in themselves. I'd say that's pretty much important, that they have a lot of self-doubt, that they don't plan ahead. Just as you were saying, Judith, people need a plan, not just to execute, but to also get clarity about what they're doing, where they are now, and where they want to go. So that's critical as far as planning this roadmap for yourself. Now, you can do it yourself. It's good to have other people that are also involved in the project, because we're talking about, what do you want your book to accomplish? Are you, for example, an expert who just wants to have a book to gain credibility? Are you looking to, sell 1 million copies? Is it a stepping stone to get speaking engagements or bigger gigs or more money? Is it a giveaway that you're going to have when you go to a networking event? A book, as you know, not only builds credibility, but also reinforces your expert brand authority and what you're an expert in.
Well, the phrase that you just threw out, brand authority, I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot. I'm all about, I've been doing rebranding. This is my year, the power of I declared. And it was relooking, remorphing, rethinking, recreative, repurposing, rebranding, etc. And when you're doing that brand authority, give us all your definition as a marketing expert, PR expert.
Of what it means to build brand authority. Well, brand authority has to do with knowing who you are, knowing who your audience is, and being able to share your message in a way across all kinds of platforms. Now, you don't have to be on every social platform, but to your target audience, to your colleagues, to your vendors, to the media, who you are, what you do, what problems you solve, and so that they pay attention, because you have to be consistent with your communication, whether it's blog writing or you're doing podcasting or you're speaking. Everything that you do has to be consistent, on tone, in your voice, and promoting your expertise, which is what I've been doing for over 20 years. And speaking of rebranding, myself, Judith, I did it about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. And what a difference. I mean, we're through our, not to use a book term, but I will, we're the same book, different chapter. And we transform, every few years. Our website might be, we're always ahead of our website anyway, because you can't change your website every single day. But rebranding is also something that's important as you elevate your own brand, and as you become more confident in yourself, and as you switch or transform or go in a different direction. It's just part of the whole growth process.
Well, I'm going to add this for everybody, because branding also refers to what images that you're used to or you're using. And I think what's really important, Robin, is there's a consistency here, that they're not 20-year-old pictures. They look like you.
Exactly. It's like, exactly. It's like going on a Match.com date and, seeing someone that you think is going to be your date, and it's a picture from 20 years ago, and you just turn around and walk out. I mean, you want to be current. You want to be relevant. One of the most interesting things that happened to me, I was in Canada and I was sitting at a table and someone said, "Oh, I recognize you. You look just like your picture." And I said, "That's great. That's exactly what I want."
And I agree with you. And so for all of you, you need to all check out what your social media picture looks like. Is it you or is it a fantasy? And I think it's really important that you have this consistently. And I'm sure, Robin, you're thinking of also your colors. And I also think of this thing is the consistency of what it is. If you're talking about the platforms and whatever you're on, it is consistent on all of them. So you don't mix it all up and confuse people, which I see a lot.
Exactly right. So when we write, for example, marketing and PR plans for authors or experts or consultants, one of the things we do is that we do a whole search on the internet of all the different places someone might show up. And it is amazing to see all the different profile descriptions, photos, things from the past you completely forgot about. Some people are on Alignable from 10 years ago with something completely irrelevant. So when people do a search for you or for your keyword search or for your name or for your book, you want to make sure that everything is in order. It's not really that hard to do once you decide, what are the photos you're going to use, what are the keywords you're going to use, what is your description, your short bio, your long bio, your social bio. All those things have to be in tone with who you are, what you do, and what you're consistently telling your audience and how you're able to solve their problems.
All right. So with that said, we're going to take our first break. But one of the things that Robin just really kissed on was really, who are you? What are you? What are you portraying? And that's just so essential. We'll be right back.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you? Or another? AuthorU shows you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you will find a supportive and brainstorming community that is connected and creative, no matter where you live. AuthorU brings in national experts for its book camps and annual AuthorU extravaganza. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through AuthorU's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. AuthorU is the premier authoring resource in the country, creating community, education, guidance, vision, and success for the serious author. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, AuthorU is for you. Timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted on its social media platforms, and it is free. Discover AuthorU, where authors go to become seriously successful. Join AuthorU today at AuthorU.org.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, with me is Robin Samora. She's a marketing and PR expert and literally a top 20 small business marketing blogger. She teaches authors, experts, and other small businesses. And by the way, that's all we authors, we are usually small business owners, how to rev up your brand, both online and offline. So if you want to know more about Robin, check out her website. It's robinsamora.com, and it's RobinSamora. So, Robin, I want to circle back here for a sec, and kiss on the publicity stuff, because the marketing is essential, how you get yourself out there. But the question of always is why comes up. Why should the marketing or the media pay attention to you marketing, to you as an expert, to you as an author? Why?
Well, there's a few reasons. Let's start with the obvious, that the media needs something to write about or report about. So that's important. The media also wants to, depending on who their audience is, the media wants to make their audience happy and hook them up or give valuable information to their readers, because that's what it's all about. Their readers are their viewers. Another thing the media, why it's important to get media attention and why should the media pay attention, excuse me, is because it's something that they need to keep current, and they need to bring new talent in all the time, or new experts in all the time. So they want to pay attention to people that know what they're talking about, people that are making a difference. They want to pay attention to what's current and also be able to serve their audience at the same time. So if you have all of that together and you position it in a way when you're going to be pitching the media, then it's a perfect factor there.
Mm-hmm. All right. So one of the things, I've used the phrase a lot. There's a whole book on this term called newsjacking, storyjacking, anything jacking here that you could do. So do you have some tips how to really milk that for an author, from whether how to pitch, when to pitch, how often do you pitch, when do you follow up, or do you bother? Do you do it on the phone? Do you do it in the email? Do you do it snail mail? What's your thoughts?
Sure. So newsjacking is basically taking a current event and tying it into your brand, your story, what you believe in. So newsjacking could be, for example, I'll give you like some funny newsjacking. So there was a while back, newsjacking was when a company put in an ad for Brad Pitt becoming single, and it was for an airline and to fly to Los Angeles. Newsjacking could be when there was a I think it was Kentucky Fried Chicken crisis in England, and the competitor put out a big campaign on Twitter and in social media about, come and get some free chicken, we're not contaminated, whatever. But also,
well, that'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. So newsjacking can be, for example, something that has happened. Say, let's say, I'm trying. Give me an example, and I'll give you an example of what might
absolutely. As we're taping this, there is major chaos going on in Europe. There is a war going on that is very, in my opinion, I have strong opinions on this, but very lopsided. How it all this got started and why, who knows. But so let's talk about chaos, conflict, etc. I mean, that would be part of it, but what else could we do?
So for example, when everything was coming out between Russia and Ukraine, first of all, there's a lot of social media disinformation. A lot of images were not correct. Social media experts could be writing about it and how it's important to make sure, that the facts are all correct and don't trust everything that you read. A historian could get could get involved in newsjacking, or an expert on international affairs, or someone that was, for example, from Ukraine, but had a business here in the States, and how it affects their business, how it affects the community here in the United States. So in other words, you're just taking an event, a current event that happened, and then you're applying you're putting yourself in it, or your brand in it, and giving an opinion. Now, the opinion can be pro or con, because there's nothing wrong with being a contrarian either. So as far as the timing for newsjacking, and David Meerman Scott, who's a real amazing PR guru, he coined that term. Basically, you want to do the newsjacking, like before 48 hours. So there's like a certain time period. You want to get it while it's hot, not while it's over. So it's important that you time it. Now, a lot of people think that it's a little bit hard to do, or they feel uncomfortable with it, but you just have to practice, just like you have to practice pitching the media. And once you have established a relationship with the media or certain reporters, like you can't be friends with everybody, but if you are have a relationship with reporters that cover your industry or your expertise, that's really important.
I think that being able to tap into any of this kind of thing, it was like, did you remember the story a long time ago where the toddler fell into the gorilla pit?
I don't, but tell me about it.
Okay, so the family was at the zoo. A little one, under the age of two, escaped, as little ones do, and fell into the gorilla pit. And that the zookeepers eventually terminated the gorilla, who was fondling the child, who was tossing the child around, who was doing a variety of things. But if you were an author of a book on parenting, if you were an author of, or an expert, or travel, or national parks, or even zoos, or anything that would, or animals, wild animals, anything that would come into that, you could pitch yourself immediately. And you're so right. You got to do it fast. So
you got to do it fast. But you also have to feel confident in yourself and in your material. So I'm always
absolutely.
Right. So I want everybody to know that as long as you feel confident, your website looks great, that you have some social platform, you don't need 1 million followers. Remember, you only have to be on a couple of platforms that you're really involved and engaged with. And that's exactly with your story. I mean, child care, parenting, wildlife. And then you can blog about it, you can share about it, and it just aligns you with something that's going on in the news at the time, and also at the same time aligns you as an expert to be able to comment on it.
And so that's something where you could do, continuing with our tragic story. The little boy was okay, but that you have all these visitors are watching this thing unfold. Horrifying. It was horrifying to see this going on. But what you could do if you were a child care or any of those things you could tap onto, you could pitch immediately to a media saying, this is what my expertise. I have 3 tips that every parent should use when traveling with a small child in visiting unfamiliar places. And you have to start doing that. And Robin, you are absolutely so right on that you better have your infrastructure in place, which is that website, which is your social media. So it makes it look like, because they will check you out, that you know what you're talking about.
The media checks you out. They don't, first of all, the journalists today, media today, are super busy. They have more than they can handle. They do everything, almost everything by email. I would say there are certain cases when people will call you, especially if you've developed a relationship where you're a resource, because then they can call you 24/7. And that's, if you want to be a resource, you better be available 24/7. But absolutely, totally agree with you.
Oh, I loved you said that. I've had some of the best media interviews at 2 a.m. some of the best, because, and this is radio I'm talking about, but that, you have a longer time, the bandwidth and the airways are so much more far reaching because other channels have shut down, that you could have unbelievable exposure. So I'm just throwing that out to all of you, that don't forget about traditional radio media, because it could be very, very strong in your favor, especially depending on certain topics.
And you have 4 kinds of media, right? So you have your traditional media, you have your social media, you have your earned media, which is press, and then you have your own media. That's what we're talking about as far as making sure your infrastructure is all under control and looking really great. Your own media, nobody can take that away from you. They can shut you down on Facebook. They could shut you down on Instagram. They can shut you down on YouTube, but they can't shut you down on your own media unless you have some blogspot.com, .this, .that, .this. So you have to own your own URL. No matter what, you have to own your own URL and pay your bill so that you make sure you'll never go down.
Yes, people, pay your bill. So because you can be cut off, and all of a sudden people are going to get the dreaded 404 when they go to your website.
That is a big dread. Yeah. Definitely you don't want that. And you can, I'm also so I'll tell you, Judith, I don't know if you know this about me, but I am a recovering perfectionist. So for years, I was always trying to do something, everything perfect. I live by the 80-20 rule, just like, exercising or eating. 80% of the time, be is the best that you can be. 20% of the time, you just got to let it go and do do your job, but, you can't freak out all the time if something isn't right, or the email didn't go out the right way, or,
And it happens. Yep. Okay, we're going to take one more break. We're with Robin Samora, and I am so glad she's a recovered perfectionist.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Discover the power of you and your book at the Judith Briles Unplugged events. Each summer, Judith Briles Book Marketing Unplugged unfolds over 3 intensive days working with just Judith. You get publishing strategies, author and book platforms, book marketing panache and pizzazz, and authoring tools to take you and your book to rock star success. In the fall and winter, Judith Briles Speaking Unplugged includes Judith as your coach and mentor during 2 powerful days. You will learn how to structure a speech, how to create openings and closings, how to find gigs that pay you and sell your books, and you will get one-on-one coaching. Go to thebookshepherd.com and click on the Events tab to learn how to participate at the next Unplugged Workshop event.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Today is all about taking, publicity, your PR, your branding, your positioning, which all encompasses under this thing called the marketing umbrella. With this is Robin Samora, who is a marketing and PR expert. And we're going through a few of the things. We talked about a little bit, why should the media pay attention? Because you know what? It's you. And you have information to share. And we talked about branding a little bit. But, and I wanted to ask, Robin, do you have some tips, tricks, strategies that an author should use to maybe claim their spot as the expert, not just another expert, but the expert?
Well, to claim your spot as an expert, the first thing that you have to do is say, I'm an expert, and I'm an expert, and I have all the qualifications to speak on a topic. A long time ago, I had a coach that said to me, Robin, you're an expert if you know more than 10 people on the street. And so I'd say, well, I definitely probably know more than 20,000 on the street. So that's a fact. But you have to claim your spot as an expert. And you have to write, and you have to portray that expertise in everything that you do. So that would be the look, the feel, the voice, the messaging, the way you show up online, the way you show up offline, when someone meets you in person, when someone sees you on a webinar, when someone sees you on the stage, when someone reads about you in the paper, or listens to you on a podcast. Everything has to just communicate this expertise and what you do, and also that you're professional and that you're believable, because it's all about, also, as you know, Judith, more than anybody, building like, know, trust, and believability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always told people about, we've talked about websites here a bit, but one of the your website has a couple of purposes. One, it should have content that whoever your ideal target market is, your ideal reader that you're trying to attract, that you've got content there. But to me, it's also, you have to have a portal to collect emails, some vehicle to do that. And then the third part is the trust word. It's got to vomit that you are trustworthy with the information that you share and you put out. I mean, that's the way I think of those things, that those three elements. And that ties in just exactly with what you said about claiming your expertise. I think you got to claim it right away.
I mean, if you don't believe it, who's going to believe it?
Mm-hmm.
You can't fake it. You can't, as far as fake it till you make it, maybe when you just start out, but then you got to get over it really fast.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Robin, you have a phrase which I loved. That this is, if we're an expert, and you referred to, well, if you know more than 10 people on the street, someone told you a zillion years ago, that, okay, you're there. You have something that you call that when you write your blog for an audience of 2. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when we write our blogs, we don't only write for one viewer. We want to write, of course, in the style that we write. We're writing for our perfect viewer, but we also, or the perfect reader, but we're also writing for Google. And what do I mean by that? Well, everybody needs to definitely know what their keywords are. And honestly, I have a guide on Fiverr that's inexpensive and fabulous. And no matter what, you have to use your keywords. So your keywords you're going to pepper into your blog and everything that you do on your website to make sure that you're going to be discovered. Now, I have never done any advertising. Never. I've maybe had my blog for 7 years. I can't even remember. But I blog consistently, and I'm writing, and that gives you authority. And as you send out weekly blogs and you're doing different things and you're promoting yourself online, Google is paying attention. Another thing, as you know, Judith, is that YouTube is so important because Google owns YouTube. So a lot of people don't even pay attention to the video description on their YouTube descriptions. I mean, there's 5,000 characters. So you can write about what your video is about. You can put call to actions. You can put follow me on social media. You can put anything in there. So as far as Google's concerned, in the blog writing, I diverted a little bit, but basically you're writing for your audience, but always you're writing for Google. You can't do it in a way that's fake. You want to do it in a way that's conversational. Or you can even have it like when you write your description on your website, for example. Just make sure that you're using keywords in a way that makes sense, that's not keyword stuffing, but little by little by little by little, you can be able to make sure that's another way that you're going to gain organic ranking. Because a lot of people don't want to spend money. My passion is no-cost, low-cost marketing and PR. And I definitely think that you don't need $1 million to build your brand or build your business.
I love the phrase low cost, no cost. And I think a lot of authors will resonate with that totally. And I have to tell you, remind all of you, Robin has been using the word authority. The word author is part of authority. And I think that's where we just saying out loud here, Robin.
That's exactly right. That's a perfect route. Exactly.
Yeah, that you've got to come in, and that for all of you, understand Google is very hungry, and you have to feed it. It's like the little shop of horrors. Feed me, feed me. So Audrey the flower needed to be fed. Google is Audrey. Out there, and it has to be fed constantly. So for those of you who maybe put out a blog once a month, you know what? That's not even an appetizer. That you've got to keep feeding Google all the time. So Robin, when do you have a certain day of the week that you put your new blogs out on?
Typically Thursday. It used to be Tuesday, and then I switched over to Thursday because I was traveling, and then I just started Thursday. I live a life. I'm a marketing expert, but I live a life too, and I travel and I work remotely, so it all works out. You have to understand that you're a person. You can do so much. You have a team. They can do so much, and it's all really where you are now and where you want to go, because I think that's really what you want to look at. Where do you want to go with what you're doing? So you don't have to be on every social platform. You don't have to be, writing 5 blogs a week. Some people like you or me might be more assertive with the communication that we, would send out. But once a month, you're absolutely right. Definitely not. Another thing I did want to mention, though, that's often so underrated and one of the best publicity tools is what is known as Google My Business, or now called Google Business Profile. Because on that, when somebody is looking you up or searching on Google, they will come up. You can, as you feed, you can input data into Google. I'll call it Google My Business. For example, press releases and images and social media graphics. You can put your hours. You can write your own frequently asked questions. All of this also helps raise your organic ranking. Everything that you post, everything that people write about you, every place where you promote an event, as long as you're having it online and you're uploading on a regular, consistent basis, all of this together, it's like pieces of a puzzle that go together to make a beautiful picture. And that's something that I'm recommending for everybody. And it's no cost, low cost. I mean, sure, you can have somebody help you, a part-time assistant, a virtual assistant, either here or abroad or wherever. But most importantly, you want to just share information about who you are, what you do, your brand, what you're up to, what you believe in, who you're helping, and success stories, earned media links. Those are important too.
I am so glad you mentioned the Google My Business. I'm actually doing a workshop this weekend on 20 marketing tips, and that is one of them. on there.
Nice.
And that I am amazed how so few really are tuned into it. I'm amazed that they don't realize it. I mean, it fits your profile, low cost, no cost, low, and going in there. I don't think people realize the breadth of what they can post on it. I don't know what the character length is, but putting those new press releases that you have, or anything that's going on, crossing over and dropping your blog in, to do that, all of those things, it goes back to what we were just talking about a few minutes ago. Google is very hungry. And
exactly. And videos too. And as you know, videos are like so important because people love videos. They love to watch videos. You want to subtitle your videos if you're able to. But people love videos. It's 87% of marketers or more every year are using video as a way to communicate and to connect with their audience. Only because they see you, they see what you look like, they get a sense of you, and then they can form an idea. Do they like you? Do they want to work with you? Do they want to, does somebody want to buy your book because, you're interesting or a lot? It's just, there's so many things you can do for practically free, Judith. You're right. It's mind blowing.
It is mind blowing, and I do think I want to spend more in our final segment also on other free related ideas. But before we jump into that, I wanted to loop back to the blogging, how important that is, and just to share with all of you a little trick that I do is that as soon as I've written a blog, and my blog goes out on Tuesday. And as soon as I've written it, that I have 4 areas. I have a title, I have a short description, I have a tags and categories, and I have a keywords for the SEO. So when I do that, I immediately go up to title. I count how many characters, because the Google cuts off on certain things. So I always make sure my titles are less than 60 characters. For my description, I always make sure it's less than 160 characters. Again, the Google will cut it off on that. So that you have a keyword in it, describing it, and then your tags. It could be, if you're tagging anyone, it could include yourself. And those are key areas. And then the 4th would be the SEO, all those keywords. And I've just gotten in a habit, Robin. I always do that. So my VAs can just literally, they drop it into our format and they know exactly copy, paste. And I take charge of that. We're going to be right back.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Are you confused about publishing options? Do you know which printing option is best for your book? Does your stomach flip when you think about selling books? Or do you feel overwhelmed with what to do about book marketing and publicity? Get the answers and much more. Get them and from someone who knows publishing inside and out from both the traditional and independent sides, how to make a successful book. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand and platform, and is a success, a bestseller. It is your choice. You choose. If you want author and publishing success, you want Judith Briles as your book coach. Sign up for her weekly blogs and e-zine at thebookshepherd.com. The Book Shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and guide to collaborate with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. Publishing is riddled with obstacles. sometimes nightmares for the author, you do not need more problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and chaos. At times, she has had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher, by a publishing service provider, and sometimes even by the author. If you want author and book success, connect with her today at thebookshepherd.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Hi, with me for this hour is Robin Samora. You can find her at Robin Samora, and that is spelled SAMORA.com. You can also email her directly, robin@robinsamora.com. And that her expertise is really marketing and PR, and she specializes in writing comprehensive marketing and publicity plans so you, dear author, can follow detailed roadmap on what to do, when to do it, and why you should do it. What's the result? You get more credibility, you're going to stand out, and hopefully bring attention and business to you, which I like all those things. So, Robin, we were talking about the variety of things because we're waffling between PR and marketing, and they all go together. PR is part of marketing. And that I would love to have you identify very quickly, today is today, whether you're a newbie or someone who's, been out here for a while, what should we be doing?
Okay. Well, newbies and experienced authors should definitely, of course, have a website that is amazing. Amazing not in that it has to be 100 pages long. It has to tell your story, who you are, what you're doing, what you believe in. It has to have contact information. I definitely believe in blogging for authors, absolutely. And this website should establish your expertise. Secondly, you need some kind of social media presence. It doesn't have to be on every single platform. I've said that before. And it's great to also have some video. So I think that's important. When we're looking for creating, like, say, for example, a digital PR strategy, I think you wanted to talk about that, didn't you, Judith?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
Oh, okay, great. So creating a digital PR strategy isn't super complicated. We're not, we're not building rockets here. You don't have to be a rocket science to do it. We have to follow a plan. So I like organic PR. I don't think that you can get a publicist if you want for $3,000 to $6,000 a month. If that's something that you're looking to do, that's fine. And I certainly honor that. And if you're super busy and you have the money, go for it. That's a great idea. But you can also do your own PR. So what are the things that you might do? Well, first of all, I think that as far as social media, and really important, and not a lot of people do, is to connect with high-profile partners and influencers, because they're the people that and reporters, and they're the people that would be, you can find them on a site like buzzsumo.com. You want to definitely take a look at that. There's a free 1-month trial. I love BuzzSumo because you're able to see what's trending, who's writing in your industry, who the influences are. Digital PR could be doing a guest post on a blog. It helps you gain backlinks and awareness. You could be a guest on someone's podcast. You're writing articles and you can syndicate your content. And then repurposing all of this as part of your digital PR strategy. So you can turn blogs into articles, into social media content. You can take podcasts and you can make podcasts into something you can put on to YouTube, for example. You can take your expertise and kind of package it and make it a freebie so that it's your own media content. You can change that up, and you can, have it be for someone that, comes to your website as a gift in exchange for an email address, taking videos, adapting content, making graphics, so many different things that we're able to do, because what you're really trying to do is just, again, tell the world who you are and show your expertise.
Which is what you want to do. That's what the PR side is all about, that you become the go-to fill in the blank for whatever it is in that area. So in your on your website, there's always the mandatory tabs. Are there certain things that you like to see that maybe will be lacking on a lot of websites that you come across, Robin?
Well, of course, there's, and it's different. Some people like to put keywords on their tabs, which is interesting. Some people just, have a home, about, services, contact, blog. I like to see, if people have been in the media, I love to see a media room or media. I like to see photos. I love to see video. I love to see blogs. I love to see that you have just a wealth, or you are a wealth of information, and you write a wealth of information. So even, for example, if you're a newbie and you just start blogging, make sure you have 6 blogs up before you really, launch your website. So you want to make sure that you have content and that you're consistent in what you do.
Because they'll check you out, so what you're saying
everybody checks you out.
Everybody does. So for those of you who are developing new websites, her tip about having 6 blogs, so I think, but you're going, where am I going to get this from? For heaven's sakes, you're writers. Open up a chapter you're working on. Take your magic finger and point to a couple of paragraphs. Lift them, create an Oriole blog, do an opening. You've got your content. What's this about? Your couple of paragraphs, and then some kind of a CTA, a call to action. That's the Oriole cookie approach, Robin, to get it going, so you have something to show, and then add a great image. And start developing a brand around your blog so there is a constant look to it. I think that's a good idea too.
Right, and as far as images, there's so many different resources that are available for free images as well. You want to make sure that that you're doing your alt text tags on there. But in addition, like AppSumo.com, for example, has
I love the Sumos. The AppSumo
they're great,
one
right?
of the greatest sites.
AppSumo is where you can buy all these different apps or get different deals. And for example, I use Deposit Photos for my photos. And a regular basis, they might be, $1 an image, but sometimes, you find a special and they're way, way, way cheap. And you can, buy 200 for, I don't know, $80, $100, I don't know, whatever. But there's so many opportunities for you to use free and low-cost tools, and images are super important. And you don't have to have cheesy ones. Yeah, you can do trials for, more expensive ones, too. You just have to make sure you write the date in your calendar so that, you won't get charged whatever the monthly fee is coming up. There's a lot of tricks. I say it's all above board. It's just being creative and resourceful and thinking about, as you put together your blogs and your images, who you really are, and is this the right thing for you? And then using Canva, for example, and personalizing it, or putting your brand overlay on it, or your logo on it, or taking an image and making it, putting a blog title on there, and then putting that up with your blog as well.
Mm-hmm. And let me just throw this out to everyone. I mean, a lot of people think, what am I going to write about? I gave you an idea. But in early April, of this year, 2022, I did a blog. It was called something like this: Author Ideas for Creating Blogs for a Year Plus. For a year plus. I give you 60 ideas for blogs, everybody. So go and read it, print it out, use it as a guide map. I mean, this is what we're talking about today, guide map for your marketing and PR. That came because I kept getting asked, where do you get all your ideas? So I decided to share them with people.
Fabulous idea. Content calendar, editorial calendar. That's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right, Robin, we only have a couple of minutes, and you and I were talking offline about grants for small businesses. Remember, I said earlier, everyone, that you all are, small businesses, authordom, running a little publishing company, small business. So what can you add there in a couple of minutes?
Sure. So I have become fascinated with small business grants lately. And the reason is because I've gotten a boatload of money from different grants. In my particular state, I'm in Massachusetts, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. But there are all kinds of grants that you can get for hiring someone, for example. There are grants that you can get for taking your expertise and putting it into a training program and then offering the training program, for example, to sell it to someone, and then you get paid and they get full reimbursement. I just want to say, be open to the possibility of looking at small business grants as an opportunity to really take advantage of no-cost, low-cost marketing and research. And one of the best resources, Judith, I tell you, the best resources is your local library. So you want to find a library that has a professional database of grants, small business grants. You can do it for your state. I'm not talking about writing grants, although there are a lot of people. I just got off the phone about an hour ago with someone who was writing grants. But I say there are established grants out there, and I want you to think about that. Go to a regional library, or like there's one in my area. The librarians are worth their weight in gold. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
It's crazy. So check out those small business grants. See how you can put them how you can incorporate them into your business. Because if you have training, or you can make training or video or teach someone something, people will want to buy it, and then you get paid, and then they get their money back. I mean, it's the best secret in town.
Okay, and we're going to close on the best secret in town. Librarians, a great librarian is worth their weight many times over in gold. And a lot of times they know tricks that Google doesn't. So with that, Robin, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. And please reach out, anybody, if you'd like some information or if I can answer some questions.
All right. Thank you all for being with us, and we'll be with you next week.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles.